real and awkward. Alrighty, so with the podcast, we want to bring in, new segments like I had mentioned. So it's going to be the first episode for Throwback Thursday.
That's pretty cool, actually. That's pretty cool.
Okay, so on today's Throwback Thursday episode topic is going to be 90s movies, and just because we're gonna do like maybe early 2000s as well, but we're just starting off with 90s movies because we're both 90s. I'm a 96 baby. You're a
92, not too. I'll date myself here, but so what's your favorite all-time?
If it have to be my top 3, it's so hard. But to be honest with you, I couldn't think of any like movies at the top of my head, so I was like searching them right now. So I was like, oh my gosh, these are 90 movies? Okay, so I'm going to start off spooky. Hocus Pocus.
Of course, classic.
Hocus Pocus.
Classic.
Oh, that is literally my comfort movie from September to December.
It has to be. I mean, it's that one movie that we grew up watching, knowing that when that movie came on TV, and I think a lot of the audience will relate, that's when you knew it was Halloween season. It was the kick, it was a start to fall, and that means Halloween.
Yes, so good.
Great movie.
We'll do one and one. So what's your...
So definitely similar to you, right? But I think for me, it's more of a sentimental value because I grew up watching this movie as a kid. Toy Story, the first part.
Yes.
It has to be the ultimate.
You can't go wrong with Toy Story. It's so good.
And I grew up with the toys and watching that movie. So I mean, it's the one movie that, yes, it was on cassette. But it was like the movie that
you watched it on VHS?
VHS, yes.
No way.
I'm
not gonna lie, I've had VHS movies too.
And I think, kind of putting it together, right?
Yeah.
Those I remember, our parents would take us to Blockbuster. So on a Friday night to go pick your movie.
After school, that's how you knew you were gonna have a great weekend if you went to Blockbuster.
Yes, and if you were lucky, you would get 2 movies.
2!
So I mean, that whole experience itself, I feel like it's no longer there. But definitely, that's why I think Toy Story is my top choice.
I get that. I like that. I respect that. That's a good one. Starting off strong. Okay, we're starting off strong. I see you, Disney, doing your thing. Okay, so for me, my second movie, and honestly, I just started seeing this maybe like a year or 2 ago. Okay. It was 10 Things I Hate About You. I never saw it. It never caught my attention. Yeah. And then, I don't know, like one day, I don't know what I was going through. I was going through something. And I was like, you know what? Let me see what this movie's about. And I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I was like, why didn't I see this when I was like younger?
A lot of 90s movies, I think, have a good backstory. That's why. It doesn't matter what 90s movies, even like movies that we didn't watch as kids, but now as adults we watch back, and you're like, whoa, why did I not pay attention to this movie earlier, right? But I think to your point, it makes more sense now as adults to watch these movies because now you understand a lot of this, right? So it's a good pick too. It's definitely a good movie. Another one kind of similar, right, in that category, Jumanji.
Okay.
That movie, I think, is the ultimate. I think the effects too. Why I'm so with this movie is because obviously the 90s was not the technology, the whole CGI stuff was not around, so a lot of it looked more realistic. I think to my point, right? To my opinion. So it's like the ultimate movie. And then oh my God.
Don't ask me some really bad.
Oh Jesus, no! I can't believe I just murdered that. Not Tom Hanks. Rob Williams.
Bro!
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Rob Williams, but
may you rest in peace.
Yes, great actor, great comedian. I think he's what makes this movie just completely elevated, right? And there's like action, there's drama, there's all kinds of things within this movie that I think is like that ultimate 90s movie that if you haven't seen it, you have to watch it. It's such a great movie.
Yeah, with Jumanji too, but that's with Jack Black. Oh, you got to
see that kind of.
See the first one. See the first one.
The first one for sure.
Can't go wrong with the originals. The originals are always the best.
The originals.
Okay, so now going or kind of piggybacking off of your emotion.
Yeah.
And
Right.
My third movie, and there's no ranking. It's just
Right.
the top 3 that I saw, because we can go. The list is endless. The list is literally endless. When I was looking at all the movies from the 90s, I was like, no way this is from the 90s. No way this is from the 90s. So 90s had really good movies. That's all I'm gonna say. But going off of like very emotion and like up and down, it might be a little dramatic, but my favorite movie, and honestly, I think the girls might, agree with me to this one. It was probably your first ever crush, and I'm talking about Benny the Jet Rodriguez from The Sandlot.
Oh.
Yup, The
Such
Sandlot.
A great movie.
Oh,
Such a great movie. Believe it or not, that's how we kick off summer. We watched that movie.
Ooh.
Something about this movie that just has baseball, summer, perfect combo.
exactly.
Kids. I think that movie is a really good scope into life during summer as kids, where life was much easier back then.
Well, let's backtrack. That's how kids' summers were
Yeah,
back in the days.
yeah,
Because it is not like that today.
absolutely
I will
not.
say that.
And I think that's why it's such a classic,
Yep.
because it literally immortalized that moment
Yeah.
in life where you were out until the sun came down.
Yep.
And that's when you knew you had to run back home.
Yep.
Not because you wanted to, but because it was so damn dark
Yeah.
that your parents kept screaming to come back inside.
Yeah.
Right? But the
When-
day went by so
Yeah.
damn quick.
Once you saw the street lights on, that was
That's
your
when you knew
cue
that
to
was
get
your cue.
home.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's such a great movie. I mean, to this day, I think it's the ultimate. I mean, you love baseball, you
It's
love
such a
being in that time. That's the movie for you. Definitely check it out for sure.
For sure. If
Yeah.
you haven't done so, where have you been? Are
Yeah.
you living under a rock? Just kidding. No hate here, but if you haven't seen it, see it.
Yeah, definitely check it out. My last pick, I think, would have to be a classic, The Lion King, for sure. I mean, The Lion King is that movie that it doesn't matter if you've seen it 1,000 times, you always pick up something new from that movie. At least that was me. I think when I saw it like the 500th time, I'm like, I didn't even notice that. And not just story wise, but I think little things in the background that
Yeah.
you notice, the character doing that, or
Yeah.
as they were walking to this, you notice that, right? And I think it's such the moral of this movie, I think it's tough, right? It
It's
fits
so good.
so much in our times. I mean, that's the movie to see if you're having like that crisis where like, I need to learn something that life is not teaching me. Check that movie out for sure.
Hakuna Matata.
Yes, that's.
It means no worries.
I mean, and to your point, I think there's so many songs in it that are catchy.
Yeah.
And I know I get it. Sometimes there's movies out there that can be annoying when it comes to like the jingles. But oh my God, The Lion King has original.
Spot on.
Yeah, I mean
They're
it's
so
things
good.
that once you hear them, you probably are gonna start humming them, whistling them. It's
Start dancing
yeah,
to it.
yeah. It's addicting once you hear these songs. Like you really can't get them.
Yeah.
But I think it's to the point of the '90s movies, right? That we're talking about. A lot of these movies have so many things, and it's what we talked about earlier, right?
Yeah.
Not only the life lessons, but I think that nostalgia, right? That
Yeah.
visiting down memory lane. Something about these movies that took you back to a time where I think it really was the last great decade, the 90s, right? And we're not just saying this, I think, as 90s kids, but obviously I was more towards the beginning of the 90s, you're more towards the end, right? So
yeah.
we can, I think, put more of our sense into that.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, as being born in 1992, I just remember that these movies were like the big thing,
Yeah.
You grew up with them, you would see them again, and now as an adult, I mean, it still has the same effect it did when I watched it the first time.
Yeah.
And I think you don't get that very often now with movies. Don't get me wrong, there's great movies now,
Yeah.
in our times, but something about the 90s movies that I just think you don't get it for.
I totally agree. It's the 90s are a different breed. Just
Yeah.
saying, like, I don't know, like just saying what you're like, agreeing with what you were saying, like the lessons and the fact that you watch it now as an adult, and some of you, most of you might have kids. I don't have kids yet, and Oliver doesn't have kids yet. But when you see it with your kids, it's kind of seeing little you. And in what your kids are seeing. So I think it's so great that not only are these movies, meant, or like we're able to really connect and enjoy it in our generation, but it can be something that the future generations can enjoy, and it's something that, you know, can really bring the family together and like just bonding. Like, it's just great, and that's what creates those comfort movies. Like, like you think about it, and just like how Oliver was saying, like it takes you back to a time when you were a little kid, and that's where it's like sorry, the Dodgers are on. There might have been a home run.
Go Dodgers.
So it's just a lot of nostalgia, and it's just so much comfort, and whatever you're worried about, like if you pop in that movie, like your worries go away because it takes you back to the time when you were worry free, and you know, it's such a great feeling.
Yeah, and you know, God willing, when I have kids, those are the movies that I want them to see, right? Not only because I grew up with them, because everything that you just said, right, that you mentioned, I think it's a time when they really get to see how, you know, in my case, their dad grew up, right? And I'll be able to point that out, like, yeah, that was me, you know, leaving my bike out in the middle of the street, worry free, that when I came back out, it was still going to be there, right? Or that was how we knew where we were. Our parents knew, you know, wherever our bicycles were parked or left on the street, that's where we were, right? So it was different. I think the word is, there was a magic about it. Right, it was a magical time as a kid to be around, right? And I think you just don't get that now, right? No. But definitely want to do, I think, some honorary mentions here. A couple of the movies that we talked about. Stuart Little.
That's crazy. I didn't realize it was a 90s movie.
Honestly, both of us kind of hit that where it's like, there's no way. But I think we felt that because it was towards the end of the 90s. 1999, I believe it was, right? So, of course, it still makes the cut, but it's such a great movie. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was jealous of that kid, of the brother. Not Stuart Little, but the brother. The cool house he had, right, in New York, and like all the toys. The brother.
Yeah, the brother.
Yeah, little brother. I can't remember his name, but I'm like, this kid has it all. And it just seemed like in the movie he didn't appreciate that, right? And I'm like, just give me one of his toys. And if you guys haven't seen the movie, no spoiler alerts or anything like that, right? But definitely, it's a 1999 movie. I think if you haven't seen it,
the fashion and the way that they were dressed, it was all
different.
Just very nice.
I would always ask myself, what do the parents do for a living? That they're right across Central Park. You know, this kid had like a basement with like a whole train set, and I was like, oh my god, like I would never leave the house.
You're like,
right?
In the basement.
You guys have to check it out. I mean, it gets crazy. There's a whole story behind it, but such a great movie, I think. Definitely watch it. I think, just as a tip though, that's the kind of movie that if you watch it in Spanish is a whole different movie. I watched it in Spanish and English. In Spanish, I think it's more funny of a movie.
Well, you know what? A lot of things, and I'm going to be going off script a little bit, but a lot of things in Spanish, like translated to Spanish, are way funnier. Like Shrek. ¿Tú conoces a Ping Pong? Ping Pong.
That movie, I've never seen in English. I've only seen it in Spanish.
I've never seen it in Spanish fully. I just keep seeing the ¿Tú conoces a Ping Pong?
And I think it's such a great movie in Spanish. Like, I cannot imagine seeing it in English. Right?
I need to watch it.
But because of that, imagine making those jokes in English. Like, if the context would be completely different.
Yeah, it's like
you can't translate that to
you can't.
English.
No, because
there's a different joke.
It's a different translation.
Yeah,
It doesn't even. It's not even like the exact translation from what it is.
Right. But I think that's why, like, Stuart Little's that same movie. I've seen it in English. Like, let me tell you, it almost feels like the story changes too, because obviously the phrases are completely different in Spanish and English. But check it out. The last one, Men in Black.
It's a classic.
Men in Black was this movie that honestly, when I was a little kid, I was like, I knew it. It was that movie. There were aliens, and of course they're in New York, out of all places, right? So definitely, I think a movie worth mentioning because it's such a great movie. I think, if I'm completely honest with you, Men in Black and Independence Day were my two first alien movies.
Really?
That I watched as a kid, yeah. And I remember being traumatized by them because I'm like, oh my god, that's what these look like.
But Men in Black is more like a comedic, so that's why I didn't mind watching it. So I was like, that's totally cool.
Yeah, I mean, Will Smith in that movie just completely elevates that movie.
Yeah.
His humor, how he approaches things. Like, it's a serious job like he has. You know, he's trying to save the world from aliens, but yet he finds somehow to mess it up. You know, but somehow it always works out. And I think that's why 90s movies, even like the funny ones, the comedies, had a good moral to them, believe it or not. You know, so check them out. I mean, there's endless titles of 90s movies, but definitely these are the ones that either we have some relation with or our favorite movies for sure. The honorary mentions, so many. I mean, even top of my head, we talked about Titanic, right?
I was like, what?
I mean, yeah, and of course, everybody to this point has seen that movie, and you haven't, like Cassandra said, where have you been all this time?
You know? Under a rock.
Yeah, spoiler alert, the ship sinks. But it's such a well done. I mean, I don't even remember this, but the VHS was two.
It was two
cassettes.
Yeah.
That's how long the movie was.
Yeah.
You had, once it was done, you had to eject the cassette and put the other part.
The other one in.
So you know what happened, right? So that was such a great movie because I think until that time, I think that was one of the first movies that you had to do that. That it was so long that it came into cassettes, right? So you had to rewind both cassettes. And for those 90s babies, if you don't remember, right, before you return these movies to Blockbuster or your local video store, you had to rewind. If not, they would charge you for it.
Lame. All for money. That's all they wanted.
For sure. But it was a whole experience. Like, you knew better not to not rewind your cassette, because if you turned it in like that, next time you rented something, it's like, oh, by the way, yeah, I'll find because you didn't rewind.
I was about to say, I think I might still have a VHS, but I don't think so. I think my mom donated it.
I still have mine.
Shut up.
I still have mine.
That
I still
is
have
so
some
cool.
movies that are, because it was the ultimate experience. I mean, you had to rewind the thing. You would hear the thing.
Yeah. Okay,
once
Teddy.
it started, and that's when you knew. I mean, the whole hype of waiting for the movie to start.
And then the like how it says VHS.
It was the best thing. It was the best. I mean, it takes me back. You know, but that's the 90s movies. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Just the tip of the iceberg.
I mean,
no pun intended.
Endless possibilities in what 90s movies can take you to. I mean, I think the 90s had such great movies that were very simple, but yet very themed. Like Hocus Pocus, right? Or it's about Halloween, it gets you into that spirit a lot. And I think definitely, since we're on the topic of holidays, Home Alone.
Yes!
Home Alone.
My gosh!
Has to be. And I didn't mention it because obviously it's not, believe it or not, this is going to sound really, weird, but I didn't grow up watching that movie for the holidays.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it, did you watch Miracle and...
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And I think a lot of it had to do, it's more cultural, I think.
Okay.
Right? Because obviously my parents didn't
grow up. What is it, Miracle on
34th Street, yeah. So a lot of those classic movies were things that like they knew about.
Yeah.
Right? And it wasn't until after that Home Alone came. I think I was probably a teenager when I watched Home Alone for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah. And when I saw it, I'm like, that is so cool. Again, the kid staying alone, right? But as a 90s kid, that was your dream, ultimate dream, to stay home alone one day and have the whole house to yourself, right? So I think definitely another great movie that people need to add to their list.
It's fucking hot in this bitch.
So that concludes our quick little Throwback Thursday first episode. So like I said, so we mentioned some pretty good movies. I know it wasn't all of them. Like I said, it's just the tip of the iceberg. So if you guys have any movies that you want us to talk about that we haven't mentioned, or maybe it's a it's a classic movie and we totally missed it, go ahead and send it our way. Let us know in our Instagram stories, on our YouTube comments. Let us know, or if you guys relate to some of the movies that we talked about, let us know too. Like, we want to hear those.
The weekend. Take the weekend and watch some of the movies that we mentioned. If you haven't seen them, or maybe you have, you want to watch it all over again, definitely check it out this weekend.
If you want to get some nostalgia, I totally get it. Just look at those movies.
Well, you know what? That's gonna give good content as to more good movies.
No, because
90s movies are are the best, I think, in my opinion. But that's the whole point about these Throwback Thursday episodes. We're gonna talk about topics that I think we all at some point remember. Yeah. But once we really go in depth into them, I think we're gonna go down memory lane for sure. Oh, for sure. It's gonna be like nostalgia, and I really hope you guys can relate to it, and also share in our stories, our episodes itself, on our comments. We want to hear your guys' stories too. We want to be interactive. So if there's any topics, anything specific for Throwback Thursday you guys want us to talk about, please let us know. We'll be totally excited to talk about it. So like I said, we're gonna talk about movies
And maybe, I don't know, maybe the next throwback we might throw in some like school food. I don't know.
That would be cool.
Maybe.
That
we could do like a little mukbang,
yeah,
you know? Like we could be like, do y'all remember these?
Yes.
You know? So
and I think like anyone else, right? It's about smells.
oh,
If you can smell,
the scent.
sometimes it takes you back, right? So I think we got ourselves some good episodes coming up, honestly.
Fun fact, really quick before we wrap this up. So you were talking about smells.
Yeah.
So in kindergarten, we'll talk more about kindergarten. But in kindergarten, we had used like this dial soap.
Okay.
And it always like that smell from the golden yellow dial soap like brings me back to kindergarten.
Yes.
So I think it was a few years ago, there was a yellow dial soap and I like, you know, I was like, okay, I gotta wash my hands, and I was like, oh my gosh, it took me back to like a 4-year-old Casey, like sitting in the classroom. Like I was just like, oh my gosh, I was like, this is so weird.
Well, you know what? I think you just came up with another episode just here in the spot. Smells.
Oh my gosh,
Smells that takes us
there
back.
we go.
So be in the lookout. Definitely a lot of good episodes coming up about Throwback Thursday.
Make sure you guys have your post notifications on, and make sure you guys are following us on our social medias. Our TikTok is down because I stopped posting on it. Still debating if I want to bring TikTok back, but for sure Instagram is up. So make sure you guys follow our Instagram.
Yes.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and like, subscribe, comment. You know, get those comments up, get those likes up, and make sure you guys share if you guys relate to it or really like it. Share our videos.
Yes. Help us
So
share. Absolutely.
So so that ends our episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye!